One job opening remaining in the NFL. Who will coach the New Orleans Saints? Cliff Kingsbury out. Mike McCarthy out. Whole lot of signs pointing to Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. And that leads us to a Super Bowl question. Could your OC getting another job Super Bowl week hurt you in the big game? Also, a Steph, Clay, Sabrina, Caitlin three-point contest at the All-Star game? Not yet, but how one tweak might get us there. Let's go around the horn. We got to have that happen. I love everything about that. We got to make that happen. Saints and Kellen Moore, is it happening? Interview last night while names like Kingsbury and McCarthy drop out. Let's consider it this way. The coordinators of Super Bowl teams, always in demand for job openings, of course. Moore interviewed for multiple jobs earlier this postseason, and the Eagles offense played great in playoff wins. But the Super Bowl is a different beast entirely. So, do you see any part of this that could be negative for the Eagles in Super Bowl preparation? Around the horn to Jen Latta.
I actually don't. We hear this conversation a lot in college football as well, as guys get other jobs and still have bowls to coach, and you hear about it with the players. What we're referring to, Tony, is multitasking and compartmentalizing. And isn't that what coaches are always telling their players they have to do? This is the proverbial catch the ball before you turn upfield and run. And I think that if the coaches are going to preach that to their guys, they should be able to walk the walk as well. And I just want to mention this. Do we really think that the Saints head coaching gig is a better gig than the offensive coordinator?
Oh, so this was the second question I had for you. Very nicely done.
Commanders?
We'll give our producers credit.
Because the Saints, they have a lot of work to do. They've got that quarterback question. They have not a lot of draft capital to go out and make moves. They are in salary cap hell. So I would argue that even if he is taking the gig, enjoy the position that you are currently in on the step of maybe winning a Super Bowl, because the road to hoe with the Saints is going to be a tough one no matter who takes that job.
We'll get to that second question that Jen has authored in a second. First, back on the Super Bowl prep, Frank Isola, and interviewing for other jobs during it. Do you think it negatively affects a team like this?
Yeah, Jen, I would think there's a lot of people in Detroit thinking, you know what, it might have impacted our team. Did it hurt us? I don't know. You can't say that it helped. First time to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and what they ended up doing, they were terrible on both sides of the ball. And their coordinators, Aaron, Glenn, Ben Johnson, were both, they were both the flavor of the month. Everyone was interviewing them, so I don't know if it helped at all. I will say this about the Eagle job. The fact that you have a week off certainly helps. The fact that the game is in New Orleans, I would not be surprised at some point if he has an hour or two off, maybe he would visit them in person. But here's my concern with the Eagles. Just make sure your defensive coordinator is well rested and paying attention, because he's the one that's got the tough job.
Kevin Blackstone, around the horn to you. Do you see Kellen Moore interviewing weeks before the Super Bowl, but still during this time period, as maybe a negative thing for the Eagles?
I don't necessarily see it as a negative thing. I mean, I don't buy too much into the distraction bit. Every time you see coordinators, their heads are tight inside of a headphone and their faces are buried into their laminated play cards. I mean, they have a very myopic view when it comes to the game and who they're coaching. But certainly it is kind of odd being in New Orleans, like Frank said, and maybe, who knows, one night go out to dinner or something. But I don't even see that. I think Kellen Moore getting his first opportunity to be a head coach in this league is good enough. And I think he's going to want to perform as best as he can on the biggest stage to let the Saints fans know who's coming.
And Bill Plaschke.
Now, this is all about perception, and how does it look when you ask your players to get their full attention for 2 weeks and your coordinator can't do that? How does it look that he's looking elsewhere? He's got one foot in the door, one foot out the door. How does it look that he's the players consider him a short timer? And how does it look that he's taking a job that really no great coordinator wants? It's a bad job. They're $50 million over the salary cap. They don't have a great draft pick. Derek Carr's there for 2 more years. 24th ranked offense. It's not a great job, and I'm surprised he's going for it now, and I'm surprised he's talking
Well, it's not
about it
official now, but yes, all signs are pointing to it. One more interesting
I think
bit
it's a
here.
huge distraction.
The Eagles do have experience with this in the Super Bowl 2 years ago against Kansas City, right? Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, the two coordinators, they did move on after that Super Bowl game. But now the question that Jennifer put out for us. Would you rather be OC of Philadelphia or Washington in Cliff Kingsbury's case, or HC of the Saints around the horn, Frank Isola?
Well, remember, Cliff Kingsbury is also being paid by Arizona. So, he's making a lot of money. He knows you're connected with Jayden Daniels, so a better job will become available down the road. And Mike McCarthy, to me, should have his pick of the litter. I think there's a couple of jobs, a couple of teams that pass on him. I don't get that. So they're in a position to be choosy. I'm not so sure Kellen Moore's in that
Kevin
position.
Blackstone?
Well, I mean, Kellen Moore could stay where he is. I mean, the funny thing about the NFC title game is you looked on both sides of that field, and you had Kellen Moore, former Cowboys, Quinn, former Cowboys, Joe Witt, former Cowboys, and now they've both basically kind of resurrected their careers or maybe found their track back in this league. So for Kellen Moore, I think, just staying where he is would have been fine. And as everyone has pointed out, the Saints' job is not very good right now.
Yeah, barring a sophomore slump by Jayden Daniels, he's probably going to have success again with the Commanders, and then he would be the #1 choice for all of the jobs in the next coaching cycle, which is better than having to choose one chair that's
And Bill
left on the
Plaschke.
floor.
Ben Johnson showed last year you can wait and pick your spots and get a good job if you wait a year. This is smart for him to do this.
We've been horned. More from the Eagles, though. Take a listen.
Well, he's done a great job. He's done a great job. I guess he let me on my straitjacket a little bit today.
Yeah, I think he was having fun after the game. We've been winning a couple different ways this year. I think he's just having fun after the game.
Joke or no joke, a question I'll ask you in a second. Straight jacket jokes aside, the push, literal, and pull on Hurts's game has felt like a critical spotlight on him at some points this year. Questions whether the passing game is where it needs to be. So, Bill Plaschke, what are you hearing through all this?
Jalen Hurts is a very serious man. He doesn't mess around. I hear that he's upset that he's been limited and held back. He's thrown 30 passes or more just once in the last 14 games. He's thrown for 200 yards just twice in the last 8 games. This is Saquon Barkley's team. And I think he's been overshadowed. In the final 4 quarterbacks, everybody's talking about everybody else, talking about Mahomes, talking about all the other great quarterbacks, and not talking about him. And I think he's hurt by that. I think the guys have to change.
Those are big words. You're saying he's overshadowed. You're saying he's hurt. He could be aware of it, but you think it goes even past. He's aware that they're a run-based team with Saquon Barkley, and you believe he's hurt by this. Frank Isola, I'll go around the horn to you, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, if he's hurt by it, I think that's pretty weak. Number one, they're in the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. And here's what he has going for them. Whenever the Eagles lose, we know who gets blamed. It's the head coach. Look at the beginning of the season. They lost a couple of games. Everyone wanted to run the guy out of town. Now they're winning, and it's, well, you could have done more. To me, it's a knock on Saquon Barkley. The team runs the ball. Saquon Barkley is the strength of that offense that opens everything up. What was their first offensive play of the championship game? Barkley ran for